Hey everyone, and welcome back to Practically Zero Waste, a podcast about making zero waste living as practical as possible. Today I had an interview with Maureen Brand from Garden of Eden Reusables in Buckhorn, Canada. Over the past few years, Maureen has developed a multitude of products to replace single-use items, everything from cloth menstrual pads to unpaper towels. She's realistic and practical in her approach to reducing waste in the life of her family of 6. Give her a listen and soon you'll be ready to ditch those single-use items forever. What's the name of your business and what's the story of how it started?
Okay, my name of my business is Garden of Eden Reusables, and I just say Garden of Eden. I had to add the reusable bit because when I went to go look for a website, all the Garden of Edens were taken, various things. So I thought, okay, I'll put the reusables in there. That's a good descriptor. So that's the story of that. And Garden of Eden, I chose that name because we live on Adam and Eve Road.
No way.
And so it's kind of paradise, haha. Mm-hmm. So that's why I chose that funny name. People often wonder, what's that all about? But also it's a place, where you're comfortable, you're happy, everything's good. So that's a good reflection on my brand as well.
Nice. Very good.
So what do I make? I make reusable cloth menstrual pads is my main business, and they can also double as incontinence pads. And I make everything from toddler training pants to unpaper towels to baby bibs and other odds and sods. I was doing cloth diapers when I first started out, and I did make a few of them, but it took me so long to make one diaper that I was like, no one's going to pay $50 for a diaper in their right mind, and if they do, they're crazy, because I would never do that. So anyhow, I just dropped that and let that go to the big guns who are doing a better job at it than me. That's all the stuff I make. About 3 years ago, one of my sisters-in-law had posted on Facebook this little video of this young British woman, and I mean young, like 15 years old, and she shared this video of this girl. She has this little business, and so at 15 years old, she had this business making and selling reusable cloth menstrual pads in England. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And she was showing how to use them at school and when you're out and about. Women all know how to deal with your period with disposables when you're out and about. Yeah. And at school and that kind of stuff, because we've been doing it for ages. But wow, and so I watched the whole video, and so I just did a little bit of research online and just was reading about them, because the only experience I had, or the only knowledge I had of reusable cloth menstrual pads or reusable cloth products for your period was the Diva Cup. Yes. And I remember hearing about it at Trent when I was there almost 30 years ago, and these women who were using this cup for their period, and I thought, what the heck are they talking about? And so that was really my only experience. So after a little bit of research online, and I found a free patterns, and I thought, okay, I've got piles of fabric, I love to sew, I'm sure I can whip something up here. Made a whole set. They're ugly, they're terrible ugly, and but I didn't care, because I was just whipping them up to see what they were like. And
you're just gonna
period,
bleed them, right? Like you're just gonna bleed on them, so it doesn't have to be pretty.
And I didn't even care. Like I was like, oh sure, whatever. Like that's one of my kids' pajamas. Like I was literally just had little scraps of this and that. And after my first cycle, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm never going back to disposables again.
Oh, good.
It was just such an immediate. I just fell in love with them immediately. And I thought, these things are just the cat's pajamas. So I just started making them for myself. And then I was out in Lakefield visiting with one of my girlfriends who I've known since I was 3. And she said, oh my gosh, Maureen, my period is killing me. I've got these rashes. And I said, what? What are you talking about? And my poor girlfriend has just suffered for ages. Like since she had her first period, she's always had terrible cramps and always a problem every time she had her period, and she's just dealt with that for 50 years, or not that long. She's not that old, but anyhow. Yeah. So I said, listen, I think I can help you. I'll make you a set of these pads. Oh, do you think they'll work? I said, it's no harm in trying. People say that they're awesome. They say that their rashes go away, their cramps lessen, blah blah blah. Okay, she says, I'll try them. Yeah, so I put them in the mail the next day. So she got them a few days later. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So she showed them to her mom, who at the time was 80. Yes. And was having incontinence, light incontinence. And her mom also had terrible rashes from the
Oh.
stinking disposable incontinence pads.
Yeah.
Well, because they're the same thing as a menstrual pad, right? Like everything is still there. It's all plastic and chemicals to make everything not smell and absorb fast and hold in one place and all these other things, so everything comes with a price.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, well, I'd like to try those too. So Leanne gave them to her mom.
That's
and
awesome.
said, you got to get me a new set. My mom's taken mine. So anyhow, I realized they had instant and immediate success. They loved it instantly. And when you get an 80-year-old woman who remembers the rags, women would use cotton gauze.
Oh, wow.
Or linen gauze. Like that's what they would use for their menstrual cycles, and little belts and all sorts of hoo-ha. She remembers those things because she was born in the 30s. She knows exactly what was used before the 70s when disposables came into fashion,
Yeah.
And anyhow, so she went back to them and thought these things are great. And since, I've outfitted her with underwear for nighttime so that, just if she's got a little incontinence before she wakes up in the morning, she's not wetting her entire bed.
Yeah.
And she just loves them. She's so comfortable. So anyhow, so that's how it started. And I would say that, 9 times out of 10, women are just like, that's it. I'm never going back to disposables. And, this has solved X problem in my life, which is great. That's the whole point.
The thing that I noticed the most when I made the switch to cloth pads was just like every month, the dramatic reduction of garbage in my life.
Oh, yeah. Yep, totally. Because, my one friend said she ended up having a hysterectomy, but before she had a hysterectomy, she'd have 30-day-long periods.
Oh my gosh.
How much garbage and money is literally being thrown away when you are bleeding for 30 days? And that's not the first time I've heard or read that women have these crazy periods. And I mean, my period, thanks be to God, is just brilliant. It's 5 days long, couple of heavy days, couple of light days.
Yeah.
Bob's your uncle. Yeah. And it's always been like that. I've been very fortunate. But as I say, my girlfriend who I've known, my first pad customer, that woman, she would bleed like there was no tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
And so all of that, and just the expense of it, and just the garbage. Yeah. And it's all plastic. Yeah. Because, I in my conversations with women as I'm going around to shows and what have you. Yeah. They say, well, doesn't it smell? And I say, listen, everything comes with a price. When you want that ultra thin, tiny little core, because you don't want to wear the big cotton batting. And I remember the big cotton batting because that was the first pad I ever had. I swear the thing was an inch thick. Anyhow, but it was cotton. Yeah. It was cotton. So at least that is probably biodegraded, even though the plastic underside hasn't been. Right. But I say, listen, when you want those little tiny cores, that's not anything natural. Right. That's not a natural substance. That is chemicals. It is probably some kind of petrochemical. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there that you're putting up against you. And so people just have to sort of just take a minute and think about that, because we don't think about it. We just put it on and walk away and we're happy. Yeah. And really that's sort of what we're taught to do. Yeah, just put a thing on, walk away, and keep riding your horse in your white jeans. Yeah, you're supposed to have a perfect life, or have a really easy period by just having these different products. But having something reusable is just a whole new story for people. It just changes their life. How many pads do you think you need for an average 5-day period? So for my 5-day period, I would say I've got 20. Yeah. I mean, I have lots because all of my rejects go to me. Yeah. And if I need more, I just wash them at nighttime, put them in the dryer, and in the morning I have clean pads. I can put them out on the line, which is awesome too. So you just have to plan a little bit more for that, because it takes a little longer to dry than it's not as many as people would think. Yeah, I think I go through 10, but I combine that with the Diva Cup. Yeah. So when I just have really heavy days, then sometimes I get tired of using the Diva Cup. It's a lot of in and out. Yep. And so you just have to have a break for your body. And it is so nice to just have those cloth pads to just kind of sink into. And, and the other part about it is I enjoy fabric shopping. It just makes what you have to do every month a little more fun.
Yeah, and like pretty. You have some really pretty fabrics too that
Yes.
I've got.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I try and make them fun and pretty and things that you're going to wear for you're going to wear them for a long time.
And you're also not going to be embarrassed if somebody like finds that in your bag.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like, oh, that's my like really ugly like stained cloth. You're just like, no, it's pretty and I wash it properly.
Yep.
What are the washing instructions for just the basic pad?
Yep. So it's so simple. I just say everybody has 3 steps. So you rinse it out. You have to rinse in cold water or because hot sets a stain. Mm-hmm. So rinse it in cold water, squeeze them out. And then I put them in a container on the back of my toilet. Sometimes I don't even use the container. I don't know, I got flowers or something in a tin planter, but just something opened because if you close your pads, the same as if you closed cloth diapers in a diaper pail, things will grow. But if you leave them open, they don't smell and the air circulates and nothing will grow.
Yeah.
So within a couple of days, I wash them.
Yeah.
And I do not use dryer sheets. I do not use fabric softener and I do not use bleach. But I just wash them in soap, and I use either borax or baking soda, washing soda rather, to boost my water and my detergent because we live in the country and I have hard water. And then I just dry them. I dry them in the dryer or I hang them on the line.
And the waterproof lining doesn't get affected too badly by the dryer?
No, it does not. No, I mean, I rarely have they're always part of another load, so the heat is being distributed. Right. I think if I had them, only my pads on the cotton setting in my dryer, that probably would wear that lining out faster than you'd want it to. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, no, it's pretty good. Like, it's the same stuff that they use in cloth diapers. And I would dry my cloth diapers in the dryer. So far, I've had the original pads now for 3. It could be, as I say, it could be 4 years already. They're still working for me.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I don't handle them with kid gloves. We're always doing laundry. I throw everything in. Mm-hmm. I'm not washing them by hand. I don't even put them in a laundry bag. I do like to have them get around, like really circulate in the laundry as opposed to just being in a lingerie bag.
And you find you have to like do something with your dirty pad. What do you recommend doing for people?
Well, I always have a little waterproof bag. I've got a clean pad or 1 or 2 or 3, however many I need. They're all inside. And then if I have a dirty pad, I go to the bathroom, take out my dirty pad, and I fold the wings over themselves and you make like a little square. Yeah. You snap the wings together and it becomes like a little square. Nothing really squishes out because blood is thicker than water. Mm-hmm. If you had a pad for incontinence and it was particularly wet, that wetness might seep onto other things, but that's why I have a little waterproof bag and I don't rinse it or anything else and I just deal with it when I get home.
Right.
So I have, we have been on holiday. I was away for 3 days in New Brunswick. In March I had my period, so I had to take my supply for myself for 3 or 4 days. And at that time, because I was staying someplace where I could do this, I rinsed them out, kept them in an opened plastic bag, and then just washed them as soon as I got home.
Yeah. Perfect. So you said something about unpaper towels. What's that?
Yeah. So I forget where I saw this idea, but anyhow, I stole it from somebody. Basically, it's so instead of using a roll of paper towel, it's kind of really a glorified rag. A dish rag or a kitchen rag. So it's the same shape as a paper towel, and I roll them up into a roll, and I snap them together so that you can put them on a paper towel roll, and put them on your little holder, and when you need something to clean up, you unsnap one, rip one off, and do your wipe up, and it's really strong. I really like it. So it's really awesome for like actually scrubbing, as well as just picking up stuff.
Yeah.
They're kind of pretty. People have purchased them for their cottages and things, which is really nice. Mm-hmm. You could use them as napkins, dish rags. You could scrub the bathtub with them. So and you just the same thing. You wash them and dry them and put them back in. They're not waterproof because they're not meant to be. They're meant to be absorbent. Mm-hmm. But they're great.
That's awesome.
I was thinking about something today, and I thought, oh, cloth napkins. And we use cloth napkins, and I've been using cloth napkins for ages. And the same thing, I know there's a lady in Peterborough who does a beautiful job making cloth napkins. There is someone down Windsor Way, and I forget her name, and she makes beautiful hankies. She makes cloth handkerchiefs and cloth napkins. And my father always used a handkerchief.
Yeah.
And we don't here. And I think sometimes, why don't we use a handkerchief? And I don't know why. It's so funny. Like, here I'm handling my own menstrual blood every month, but I haven't made the switch to cloth handkerchiefs.
Yeah.
and I don't know why. Isn't that funny?
It is hard. Yeah.
But people, there are people who are making them, and there are people who like them. I make also reusable nursing pads for breastfeeding. I don't know that there are very many women, to be honest, who use the disposable nursing pads. So I make cloth ones, and they're waterproof. Sometimes you'll find that there are other cloth ones on sale. They're just not waterproof. I choose to put the little waterproofing barrier behind them, and I make them bamboo, so they're soft and smooth, yet they're still absorbent. I'm trying out a line of men's incontinence underwear.
Yeah.
A friend from high school, her dad has prostate cancer. And so was experiencing a bit of incontinence. So she said, would you make some underwear for him to try out? Because he doesn't like the disposables. And I said, no, for sure. And that's actually a really growing area, is incontinence and men's incontinence. Men all of a sudden are like, oh my gosh, I've got this issue. All of a sudden I'm wetting my pants. I don't know what's going on. They're embarrassed. They don't know what to do. They've never had to deal with this. To try and make things that are easy for men to use with a bit of dignity.
Yeah.
And the same with the adult bibs. It's not a huge line, but it's been something people have wanted to purchase, and also purchase for adult children with special needs.
Yeah. Where
they have a bib, because they need a bib, that has dignity.
Yeah. It's not like got little ducks on it or something.
Exactly. And you're 80 years old and you have mobility problems and your head is shaking from Parkinson's or something. You just want to have something with a little bit of dignity. Maybe people don't care, but I just think, no, old people deserve that. And so, I try and, again, pick pretty patterns, nice patterns, things that are easy for them. Like, instead of using a snap for an old person or someone who doesn't have that dexterity, I put a ribbing around the neck so they can pull it on and pull it off without any snaps, without any difficulties. So things like that just take a little bit of thought and take a little bit of planning, and I like doing them, and people are happy with them.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is it challenging to make this switch to, I don't know, unpaper towels or anything like that in your home with a family? Like, is everybody on board?
Nope. I haven't bought paper towels in a long, long time.
Woo.
I just keep a stash of rags, cotton dishcloths.
Yeah.
So when there's something dirty on the floor, and you just take the wet rag and clean it up. Well, you know what also we switched to, and I haven't bought it in a long time, is plastic wrap. I've gotten rid of that, and sometimes there's the odd complaint here and there about that, but I went and bought beeswax wraps.
Yep.
And the kids are finally, like, at first they were like, my sandwich tastes like beeswax.
Yeah.
And
because it
get
does.
over it.
You're right.
It smells like honey. No, it doesn't. But anyhow, I really like it. I use tin foil because you use that sometimes in the oven or what have you.
Yeah.
But I really like those beeswax wraps.
Aren't they great? Do you have a particular brand that you're using that you like?
I bought the Abigos.
Oh, good, yeah.
Really like those.
Mm-hmm.
And I just purchased some from the Kawartha local store on King Street in Peterborough, and it's a local woman. Now, the Abigo, I think they use the pine resin.
Okay.
And this other woman, she's just a little independent. She did not use the pine resin. It was just cloth and the wax.
Yeah.
And I think the first time I did it, I didn't have jojoba oil because I didn't know. And so they were really stiff. But you sprinkle the jojoba oil on the fabric and put the wax on it and then melt it all and spread it around with a paintbrush or whatever, because the jojoba oil keeps it pliable.
Okay, yeah, I have two different brands. One came from the Lindsay Market. I don't remember who made them, but so one came from the Lindsay Market, and the other brand that I have is a Vigo. And I find that the ones that are just from the market that were homemade, they have cracked a lot sooner than the Abigo has. The Abigo has lasted me over a year now. Like I got them last 2 Decembers ago, and so they've lasted me. And I just recently got a few more, and they just don't crack. They're great.
No, they are, and I think that's I think the key is that pine resin. It just gives it a little bit more body, maybe, and it gives it a little bit more just viability.
Yeah. Another thing I just thought of for reusable things is produce bags.
Yes, I just bought one from the Green Up.
Yeah, so just a little drawstring cloth bag, or I've seen the ones that are made out of either mesh or tulle or something like that. So those are great because I use those for all of my grocery shopping and all of my like bulk barn runs, anything that's dry like nuts and stuff.
I hated those little plastic. My zucchinis are okay if I hold 4 zucchinis and put them on the tray in my cart. I never use those things. I really try not to use them at all, and this time I just thought, no, I'm going to buy one of those and just see what it is, and they're great. Yeah. And they would be fabulous at the bulk food store for sure.
For sure. So they're really good.
For sure. They used to flour sacking when my mother was growing up. Of course, she lived in the prairies, and there was no such thing as the bulk food store or anything like that. You went to the mill and got your flour or the shop or whatever. But anyhow, all the flour came in flour sacking.
Right.
Which was basically a tightly woven cotton linen kind of thing.
Okay.
You couldn't put a bullet through that stuff, but you're doing the exact same thing with your reusable cloth bags. You're going someplace, you're getting this filled up. Brilliant. The weave is so tight that the flour is really not seeping out. Mm-hmm. It just is amazing that it's taken us this long to go back to the way things were for centuries.
It's awesome. Yeah. It is surprising how long it's taken, but at the same time, like, plastic has so many uses, and it's such an incredible invention that we embraced it so wholeheartedly and went gung-ho and just used plastic in everything because it was so fast to manufacture, it was so easy and flexible.
You could take on any shape that you wanted.
Absolutely. But I guess it's just the issue is that we're using it for single-use items, and because it never breaks down, it only just becomes smaller and smaller, but it never really like biodegrades. That's the only issue, that like if we kept using plastic for things that it's meant to be used for, instead of that, we've been using it for single-use items too, and that's just let's just reckon it. It's piling up. Do you have any other recommendations for people who are trying to transition to a zero waste lifestyle?
You just have to pick one thing every time. Yeah. Like, I made the conscious decision, no, I'm not going to buy the plastic wrap. I'm not going to do it. Do I miss it sometimes? Yeah, I really do. And you think, damn, this would have been awesome to have saran wrap on. Yeah. When you're going to a party or whatever. But it's just like, no, okay, you know what? I don't have saran wrap. I do have a grocery bag that I got the other day because I forgot my reusables. That tray of cheese and crackers is going in the grocery bag, and I'm tying the handles. Mm-hmm. So you don't always have to default to the single-use plastic. Just once upon a time, Elspeth, people had Tupperware. There was no saran wrap. Everybody had Tupperware. It was reusable. My mother still has Tupperware she got when she was married 50 years ago.
That's wonderful.
And so that is a brilliant use of plastic that wasn't single use. We've been using it for 50 years. It is still in excellent condition. Yeah. So, you just have to just say no. Like every time that you run out of something, just say, okay, you know what? Let's just try something else. I'm out of pads, or I'm going to buy 3 pads from this person and see how I like them.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to make the big investment. Or, and if I hate it, okay, you hate it. They and the kids have been good. Like, as I say, the only thing they've complained about is the Abigo. Or I bought this for the kids a long time ago, and I really do recommend this for a lot of people. We bought a bento box.
Okay.
It's a great company from the United States, and I think it's called Bento, but the kids' school was a zero waste school.
Whoa.
So whatever garbage you brought into the school was the garbage you took home.
Wow.
So you couldn't come with yogurt cup. And so I would buy a tub of yogurt.
Yeah.
and I would put it in the little containers. And it also allowed me to look and see what my kid was eating. So they had a big box for sandwiches or cheese and crackers, and then they had a little box with a lid where you could put applesauce, and then 2 other little boxes with lids. So you just opened it up, and there it was.
Yeah.
So that it was easy for me to just compartmentalize 4 lunches.
Yeah.
And then that worked really well. Then as my older son got to be in grade 6, he's like, Mom, this is not enough food for me. So then he went to a lunch bag with reusable containers, right? Yeah. But that bento box, it was fantastic.
That's so
and
good.
Again, it was an investment. It was a $40 lunch box, but it's gone through 4 kids. You just have to say, you know what? This thing is coming up in my life. It's school starting next year for my kid in kindergarten. Let's start with this thing.
Yeah.
Because then the kid doesn't know any different. And actually, it's this really cool little lunchbox. It's really sweet. You're going to have it for years and years and years. You take it home, you wash it, you use it again.
Exactly.
So it just has to be every time that you run out of something, just think, okay, well, maybe I won't buy that again. Let's just see what happens if I don't buy that again.
Exactly.
And that's what I just say. Just do one little thing at a time. Just give it a try, and it's not hard.
No,
it's not hard.
One at a time. One at a time is more manageable.
Oh gosh, yes. You can't. My husband, is like, oh, let's clean out this and get rid of all this junk food. No, it costs money. I can't just throw it out.
Yeah.
Like, we'll eat it, we'll be done with it, and then we won't buy it again.
Yeah. Do you so you have a website, but where can people find you? What are all your different platforms?
So my website is Garden of Eden Reusables with an S.com. My Facebook and Instagram is Garden of Eden Reusables with an S. So I have the Facebook, Instagram, my website. I'm on a new online makers platform called WeShopCanadian.com, I believe. You'll get the same thing. You'll get just as much from me going to my direct website. And I have a web store on that website, and you can send me emails and ask me questions and, see what people say about the pads from their own point of view.
Sure, yeah.
And yeah, it's the whole line is there. One thing I do put on my website is that I really love fabric, and so the styles and the patterns that I have change almost weekly.
Right.
So just because something's on the website doesn't necessarily mean that pattern is available still. I try and send things that are fun and interesting, and people so far have been very receptive and quite pleased with their product. So
that's great. And do you have any stores within Peterborough area or Lakefield area?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I do. You can find me in Kawartha Local on King Street in Peterborough, and you can find me at Peterborough Greenup. I carry a very abbreviated line at the Play Cafe on Shamong Road in Peterborough. The local community has been really great and really receptive, and Greenup, props to them. They took me on immediately and have been a really good place for me to sell.
Thank you again for being interviewed by me for this endeavor of mine. So
good for you, Elspeth. You keep it going, girl.
We'll talk to you
enjoy
soon.
the rest of the day.
Yes, bye, Maureen. Thanks again for listening, everyone. If you missed the first episodes, you can find them for now at soundcloud.com/PZWPOD. You can find Maureen at GardenofEdenReusables.com and on Instagram at Garden of Eden Reusables. You can also find me on Instagram at Elspeth Callahan. Happy Plastic Free July, everybody. Talk at you soon.